Discover the incredible transformation of Jeffrey Epstein, amazing truths finally revealed. In the heart of a sleepy suburban neighborhood, beneath the weight of dashed dreams, lived a young man named Jeffrey. He was like countless others, too hopeful, too ambitious, but grounded in a modest reality. Jeffrey came from a family that knew struggle, yet, every day his parents instilled in him the true meaning of hard work and respect. They believed the American dream was not just a tale for the wealthy, but a birthright for the determined. As he stood on the precipice of graduation, his heart raced with the promise of a future that felt within reach. Graduating from college, Jeffrey felt the thrill of possibility. His mind spun as he walked across that stage, diploma in hand, dreams soaring higher than the sun that bathed the crowd in warmth. He landed a job at a prestigious firm in the nearby city, but as he climbed the glittering corporate ladder, the shine began to dull. The glass ceiling loomed large above him, fortified by economic inequality and unspoken biases. It was disheartening. He felt out of place among colleagues wrapped in privilege. They glanced at him with judgment, unaware of his journey, dismissing him as just another lucky newcomer. Back home, his family celebrated his success, but the gleaming facade hid strain. Conversations that once flowed easily turned tense. His parents struggled to grasp this new world he occupied. Their sacrifices echoed in Jeffrey's heart, but the disconnect grew painful. What good were accolades when they drove a wedge between him and those who mattered most? Their pride felt overshadowed by their bewilderment. He couldn't shake the tightness in his chest, nor the sting behind his eyes when he thought of their disappointment. Then came a fateful town meeting, where neighbors shared their struggles. The room filled with voices, each story a thread woven from shared hardship. He felt the energy pulse through him. Fueled by the overwhelming desire to reclaim his identity, he rose to speak, his passion igniting the crowd. "We are more than our circumstances," he declared, his voice ringing with conviction. As he stood there, the rift between his past and future seemed to bridge, but it was a fragile connection. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but the moment of clarity felt fleeting, especially when tensions boiled over at the meeting. Voices rose, accusations flew, an emotional maelstrom. It was raw, it was real, and Jeffrey stood at the epicenter of a storm that could fracture everything. Just before he could gather his thoughts, a message appeared on his phone, an unexpected ping that changed everything. An estranged family member reaching out, alive with unresolved feelings. The air hung thick with uncertainty. Would he choose the corporate accolades or return to the roots that nurtured his very soul? The answer danced just beyond his reach, echoing in his heart, leaving him teetering between two worlds as the crowd's chatter faded into silence. What would he do next? The choice was looming, and time was running out. As Jeffrey stood there, the weight of the message loomed over him like a storm cloud, heavy and charged. He risked a glance at the gathering around him. The emotions were raw, the air crackling with passion and frustration. How had he gotten here? The strain of his new life pressed against him, threatening to suffocate the dreams he had held onto so tightly. "Jeffrey!" a neighbor yelled, snapping him back to the moment. "What do you think?" It was Carla, an elderly woman who had always seen potential in him, even as a child. That he swallowed hard, his heart racing. What did he think? His mind raced back to his roots, back to long nights filled with his parents' laughter mixed with rising worries, hopes tinged with struggle. It was all there, the love of a family that fought tooth and nail for everything they had. And yet here he was, clinging to a version of success that didn't quite fit him anymore. "I think," he began, his voice trembling slightly. The words felt caught in his throat, but he pushed on. "I think we're more than our jobs. More than our titles. We have dreams and we have each other. The crowd erupted, a chorus of cheers mingled with nods of understanding. Jeffrey felt a spark ignite within him. It was as though each word he spoke stitched him into the fabric of that moment, binding him to those who shared the same struggle. For the first time since he'd left home, he felt a sense of belonging. But just as the atmosphere lifted, it grew tense again. Someone from the back shouted, "But what if we're stuck? What if we can't change our circumstances?" Jeffrey's heart sank with that question. The reality of it struck home a truth he could not deny. There were barriers, many of them, towering high above ordinary people like walls in a fortress. Yet, wasn't the essence of the American dream about overcoming, about pushing back against those walls? As he looked into the eyes of his neighbors, he saw reflections of his own struggles mirrored back at him, a collage of sorrow and hope blending together. "We fight. We stand together," he invoked, his voice building, resonating. "There's strength in community. If we don't stand up for each other, who will?" Cheers erupted anew, but his heart felt a different pull. The message from his estranged relative was still buzzing like a firefly in his pocket, urging him to face the parts of his past he'd buried deep. The meeting gradually wound down, people lingering, holding on to that flicker of unity ignited by his words. Jeffrey stepped outside, needing a moment to catch his breath. But his phone buzzed again. With a deep breath, he opened the message, fingers trembling. It was the kind of truth one both feared and craved. His cousin wanted to reconnect. After years apart, there were unanswered questions woven into their family threads. A part of him was terrified of what that might bring, but another part, the one that yearned for connection and the warmth of shared history, felt a spark of excitement. How could he pursue his corporate dreams if a piece of his past remained unresolved? Choices loomed ahead like shadows. Could he really balance the tightrope strung between ambition and family? With the weight of his decision sinking in, Jeffrey knew clarity was within reach, just waiting for him to grasp it. Yet, the deeper he looked into that message, the more unsure he felt about the future. Would reconnecting with family strengthen his resolve or pull him in directions he never anticipated? The questions coiled in his mind like vines seeking sunlight. The journey was just beginning, and Jeffrey understood one thing for certain: he needed a foundation, a place where he could reconcile all parts of himself, his past, present, and the uncertain road ahead. His fingers hovered over the screen, poised to respond. Would he welcome back the roots he left behind, or would he plunge headfirst into the unfamiliar waters of ambition? The sun began to dip beneath the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, a stark contrast to the tumult of thoughts swirling in Jeffrey's mind. He stood outside the community center, the sounds of lingering voices filtering through the door. Each laugh and shout felt like a reminder of connection, yet he couldn't shake off the heaviness that had settled in his chest. What would it mean to reach out? What would his cousin expect from him after all this time? The idea of diving into that complicated family history was both enticing and terrifying. He ran a hand through his hair, glancing at the message again. Just a few lines, but they held years of distance between them. With a sigh, Jeffrey stepped away from the building's welcoming warmth, seeking solitude beneath a nearby oak tree. Its branches hung low, offering him a little shelter from the world. He leaned against its rough bark, grounding himself as he thought about the life he'd built. Was it truly fulfilling? Or was he just filling time, containerizing his ambitions like some sort of careful arrangement on a shelf? His mind drifted back to the faces of his friends in the crowd. Their struggles felt so familiar, yet filled with hope. They were all searching for something greater. Jeffrey could see the determination glimmering in their eyes, a reflection of his own hidden desires. But would they understand his need to reconnect with the past? Suddenly, the phone buzzed again, jolting him from his reverie. The screen lit up with another message, different this time. It was from a friend, someone who had been with him through thick and thin. "Hey, just heard you spoke at the meeting. Proud of you. When you get a minute, let's catch up." A smile broke through Jeffrey's earlier tension. He appreciated those words. It was in these small moments of encouragement that he found the validation he didn't know he craved. There was comfort in knowing he had people who wanted to support him, even when he couldn't quite find his own direction, but could he lean on them while grappling with the shadows of his past? He longed to share his thoughts, yet the fear of judgment gripped him tight. Uncertainty clawed at his mind again, and he knew he had to wrestle with his choices. Maybe reconnecting with his cousin could lead to answers. There was a chance they could help each other navigate the tangled histories they shared. Family could either bind or break him, and this moment felt crucial. Jeffrey raised his phone, staring at the message inviting him to bridge that gap. Before he knew it, his fingers danced across the screen. He typed a simple response, feeling a sense of purpose returning with each letter. "I'd love to reconnect. Let us meet soon." As he hit send, a wave of relief washed over him. For the first time in a long while, Jeffrey felt he was moving towards something brighter, not away from it. A step towards balancing the ambition that demanded him against the family longing that tugged at his heart. But just as he turned to head back to the community center, a flicker of doubt submerged his relief. What if his cousin had changed? What if the reunion triggered feelings he wasn't ready to face? The shadows of his past loomed large, ready to eclipse the small light of hope he'd begun to cultivate. The heart of Jeffrey's story was just turning the page into a new chapter, not without its questions and challenges. Would this meeting provide the clarity he needed, or would it open a new door of complications? The journey ahead promised twists that would test everything he thought he knew about family, ambition, and what truly makes a life worth living. And with that thought, he felt a fresh surge of determination. He was ready to explore the depths of his past, whether they led to solace or storms. But it would take courage to face what lay ahead. Would he be prepared for the revelations that awaited him? As Jeffrey stepped back into the community center, the buzz of conversation greeted him like a warm embrace. The familiar faces around him brought both comfort and uncertainty. He felt the weight of his decision heavy in his pocket, his phone, now filled with possibilities. Would reconnecting with his cousin really lead to the clarity he sought? He found a corner where he could sip his coffee and observe the gathering. Laughter floated through the air, filling the spaces between people, binding them in fleeting moments of connection. He watched friends share stories, the way they leaned into one another, heads nodding, eyes sparkling with understanding. It was effortless for them, a skill he had lost somewhere along the way. As he stirred his coffee, his eyes caught sight of Amy, a close friend from the group. Her laughter bubbled up like a child's and soon enveloped the entire room. She spotted him and waved, her face brightening as she made her way over to him. "Hey stranger. I was wondering where you went off to." Her voice was a melody distinctly familiar, unlocking memories of late-night talks and wild dreams. "Just needed some fresh air," he managed, forcing a smile. "How's it going?" "Oh, you know, the usual chaos," she replied, rolling her eyes dramatically. "But it's good chaos. We're planning a weekend retreat, a sort of escape to recharge. You should come." Jeffrey felt his heart skip a beat. It sounded amazing, but the thought of being surrounded by people who would ask about his family brought a tightness to his chest. "I don't know, Amy. I have things to sort out." "Things? Or just fears?" Her brow furrowed slightly, and Jeffrey felt a wave of vulnerability wash over him. Wasn't it easier to hide behind excuses than to admit he was scared? "Maybe a bit of both," he confessed. The honesty rolled out before he could catch it. "I've got a lot on my mind. Talk to me. You know I'm always here." Her words were simple yet genuine, like a lifeline tossed into the turbulent waters he found himself in. He hesitated, unsure if he was ready to even go there. The idea of sharing his struggles made him feel tremendously exposed. But maybe he could just dip a toe in. "I reached out to my cousin," he said, the words feeling heavy yet freeing as they left his lips. "A cousin?" She echoed, her eyes lighting up with curiosity. "That's a big step for you. What's the story there? I haven't seen him in years." Family stuff, complicated stuff, he replied, his voice trailing off. As he spoke, he felt the knot in his chest loosen slightly, even just sharing the thought with someone. Hey, if you feel it's right to meet him, do it. Family can surprise you. It can also heal sometimes, she encouraged gently. You really think so? Jeffrey asked, clinging to her words. Absolutely. Just be open to what happens. That's all you can do. She smiled softly, and for a brief moment, he felt the warmth of possibility seep into him, but as their conversation shifted to lighter topics, doubt clung to him. Could reconnecting lead to healing, or would it unearth old wounds? The retreat sounded tempting, but so did diving into the unknown with his cousin. Hours later, as the sun set and colors danced across the sky, Jeffrey found himself at a crossroads. Should he step out of his comfort zone, embrace the connections all around him, or retreat into the safety of the familiar? Feeling the weight of the decision press on his chest, he pulled out his phone again. He typed a message to his cousin, heart racing. How about that coffee tomorrow? After hitting send, he held his breath. Whatever lay ahead, he had to know. He could already feel the tension morphing into anticipation. But would his cousin respond? And if the answer felt right, could he face the past he'd left behind? Thoughts tangled in his mind, leaving him restless with a mix of hope and fear. The next moment, he felt an instant vibration. His phone lit up with a reply. All at once, Jeffrey's heart raced again. What would it say? Would this be the push he needed, or would it plunge him deeper into uncertainty? Jeffrey's fingers trembled slightly as he picked up his phone again, the screen glowing brightly against the dimness of the community center. His heart raced like a drum in his chest. He squinted at the message notification. His cousin Matt had replied. Sure. Coffee tomorrow sounds great. Can't wait to catch up. Those simple words hit him with a wave of mixed emotions. Relief washed over him, but it was swiftly followed by anxiety. A part of him wanted to jump for joy, but another part screamed for him to slow down. What would they even talk about? Would they fall into silence, awkward and uncomfortable, like it had been all those years ago? The flicker of his phone screen brought him back to the present. He sat back in his chair, taking a moment to absorb what lay ahead. Maybe this was the crack in the wall he had built around himself. This could be the first step toward healing, toward understanding the disconnection that had grown stronger over the years. He felt a light tap on his shoulder and turned to find Amy standing beside him, her expression curious. Did he reply? She asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Yeah, he did, Jeffrey said, trying to sound casual, though his heart was still in his throat. We're meeting tomorrow for coffee. See? You're doing it. She exclaimed, her face lighting up in genuine happiness for him. I'm proud of you. A warmth spread through him at her encouragement, but as he watched the group of friends laughing and connecting nearby, the knot of doubt returned. But what if it doesn't go well? What if I just mess it all up? Jeffrey, you care too much about perfection. Just be yourself, Amy said, squeezing his shoulder. Whatever happens is part of the journey. This is about reconnecting. If it feels awkward, that's okay. You can face whatever comes together. Remember that. Thanks, Amy. He managed a smile, though his stomach twisted with uncertainty. Could he really unravel those years of silence in one coffee meeting? That night, sleep eluded him as his mind danced back and forth. Images of childhood memories with Matt flashed through his head, their days spent together filled with laughter, fights, and secrets shared. Yet, those images faded into the dark recesses of their falling out. How they had gone from best friends to strangers, the whispers of family trouble twisting them apart. When morning arrived, Jeffrey felt like he was preparing for battle. Every sip of coffee tasted like anxiety, and he could feel the pit in his stomach tighten with each passing minute. He dressed carefully, not wanting to appear too casual, yet trying not to look overly eager. A balance that made his head spin. At the cafe, he arrived early, hands sweaty as he fidgeted with his phone. Every moment felt like an eternity. Would Matt show up? The thought sent another wave of nerves through him. Then he saw him. Matt stood at the entrance, scanning the crowd. As their eyes met, recognition flickered between them, followed by a slow, tentative smile. For a moment, it felt as if the years hadn't passed. Jeffrey's breath caught in his throat. But was it a smile from the past or just a mask for apprehension? Both men took a step forward as if pulled by an invisible string, both uncertain yet somehow hopeful. Their past loomed large in the space between them, but could they bridge the gap that had formed so long ago? Jeffrey swallowed hard, heart pounding. This was at the moment that could change everything. Would they find a way to heal together, or would this just be another awkward attempt to make sense of their shared history? As they both took their seats, the ambient noise around them faded into a distant hum. All that mattered now was the conversation about to unfold. What would they reveal? Would the truth of their shared past finally bring them closer or push them further apart? The moment lingered, heavy with unspoken emotions. Jeffrey felt the weight of all those years pressing down on him as he studied Matt's face, searching for a familiar spark. Did his cousin feel as nervous as he did? That tentative smile hung in the air, fragile like glass. "Hey," Matt said, breaking the silence, his voice low but steady. "It's been a while." "Yeah, it really has," Jeffrey replied, feeling the words hover awkwardly between them. It felt like they were speaking from opposite sides of a great canyon, each hesitant to take the first step across. Matt settled into his seat, eyes darting around the cafe, taking in every detail as if it were a shield. Jeffrey mirrored his nervous movements, swirling the coffee cup before taking a sip. It burned but didn't distract him from the tension building like a storm cloud above their heads. "Doesn't feel like yesterday, does it?" Matt's gaze finally locked onto Jeffrey's, and a thread of vulnerability wove through the silence. "No, it doesn't," Jeffrey admitted, recalling all the laughter they had shared as kids. "So much has changed." Matt nodded, a flicker of sadness crossing his features. "Sometimes I think about the weekend trips. All those times we got into trouble together." A memory tugged at Jeffrey like a hand reaching from the past. "Yeah, when we built that treehouse. Or when we got lost on that hike." He chuckled, hoping to lighten the moment, but uncertainty lingered. "That's right," Matt said, a playful smile breaking through. "You were convinced the map was upside down." Jeffrey smiled back, grateful to feel the ice crack just a little. But even as laughter danced between them, the shadows of what had come between them loomed larger. "I've missed those days, Matt," Jeffrey's voice softened, the weight of regret heavy in his chest. "I really have. I miss us." The air shifted, and Matt's expression faltered, the laughter fading. There was a lot that happened after everything. He hesitated, his hands tightening around his cup. It was hard not talking. "I didn't know how to reach out," Jeffrey confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I thought maybe you didn't want to hear from me." Matt's eyes filled with an emotion that was difficult to read. "Hurt, maybe?" "I wanted to, Jay. I really did." The pain in his tone was palpable. But it felt like the silence was settled in stone. No one brought it up. We just drifted. It struck Jeffrey like a bell echoing in a quiet room. They were two ships that had sailed into separate horizons, lost in the tide of family brokenness. "Maybe we can change that," he said. "Change it?" Matt raised an eyebrow, half skeptical yet intrigued. "Yeah, why not start anew? Talk about what happened, the hard stuff. We can figure it out together." No more silence. Matt leaned back in his chair, eyebrows furrowed. "You really think we can?" "Yes," Jeffrey replied, his heart swelling with a mix of hope and fear. "I mean, we owe it to ourselves, right?" Matt took a deep breath, the moment stretching out like an infinite road ahead of them. "If we're doing this, we should start with what really tore us apart." Jeffrey felt the enormity of the moment settle in. Could they finally confront the issues that had driven them apart? The truth held the power to heal or to rupture them wider than before. With a sense of both dread and excitement, he nodded. Okay. Let's talk. But inside, Jeffrey could already sense the storm brewing, the very thing they needed to face. What if the truths they unearthed were more painful than either of them expected? As they leaned closer, preparing to bare their souls, the cafe bustled around them, oblivious to the pivotal conversation about to unfold. Would they find the strength in that shared history, or would the revelations push them away for good? Jeffrey's heart raced as he searched for the right words, as if he were grasping at straws in a tempest. The swirling steam from their cups mingled with the tension vacuuming out the air. He could see Matt was equally engaged, on the precipice of opening a door neither of them had dared to approach in years. "Let us start with the accident," Matt whispered, his voice trembling slightly. The word hung in the air, knitting their past with uncertainty. "It changed everything, didn't it? Not just for us, but for the whole family." "Yeah," Jeffrey replied, his throat tightening. "I didn't know how you felt after it. I remember the day like it was branded in my mind. I can't shake the image of your parents." He broke off, vision blurring with tears he didn't want to shed. Matt's expression shifted, eyes clouding with memories that were likely just as painful to him. "They took it hard," Matt said quietly. "I think they thought it was my fault. I felt like I failed them. And instead of talking to you, I pulled away." The admission struck like a hammer. Jeffrey could see the cracks widen. "But it wasn't your fault, Matt. You were a kid." "I didn't handle it well," Matt replied, rubbing his forehead as if trying to erase the past. "I stopped talking to everyone I cared about. I chose silence when I should have chosen you." Jeffrey shifted in his seat, shocked by the raw honesty. "I get that. But I felt left behind. I thought we had each other through everything, and then suddenly, it was like I lost my best friend overnight." Each word felt like a pinprick, unveiling the depth of betrayal and hurt he had held in. Matt's gaze sank to the table, and silence fell between them, a living thing wrapping around their hearts. Jeffrey hugged his cup, trying to gather strength. "We should have told each other how we felt. I buried my feelings, anger, sadness, because what could I do? You were my cousin, my brother." He choked on the last word, feeling the rush of vulnerability sweep over him. "God, Jay," Matt said suddenly, his voice cracking. "I didn't realize how much this affected you, too. I wish I could go back and fix it. I don't know why I thought isolating myself was the answer. Because it felt easier, right?" Jeffrey offered gently. "It felt safer. But it didn't protect us. It pushed us apart instead." Matt looked up, meeting Jeffrey's gaze with newfound determination. "So what now? Where do we even start?" There was a flicker of hope within Jeffrey. "We move forward. Together. Acknowledging the pain, but also remembering the good, the laughter, the adventures, the love. We owe it to the memories and to ourselves." Matt's eyes narrowed, curiosity igniting in his features. "You really think we can rebuild this? After everything?" "I believe we already started," Jeffrey said, summoning courage. "If we can face this together, maybe we can start to heal. It may take time, but I want to try." They exchanged a glance, a mixture of fear and determination, but within it was a promise: no more silence, just the beginning of a new chapter. As the cafe buzzed with life around them, Jeffrey felt lighter. But beneath that relief lay an undercurrent of trepidation. Would they be able to confront all of it? The shadow of the past might loom larger than either anticipated. "Okay, let us dig deeper," Matt said, his voice steady. "Let us talk about the last family event, the one we both avoided." A cold shiver slid down Jeffrey's spine. They both knew that conversation could be the catalyst for either healing or further distance. As they prepared themselves for what lay ahead, Jeffrey couldn't help but think, Would this bring them closer or reopen wounds they might never be able to fully close? Matt took a deep breath, his hands clenched around the warm ceramic of his mug. The last family gathering, I just wanted to hide from it all. It felt too raw, too real, you know? Jeffrey nodded, his heart pounding again. There it was, the looming event that had cast a shadow not just over their relationship but over the entire family. I remember how tense it was. Your parents, they were different. It was like they were waiting for something to break. That's exactly it, Matt said, his voice rising. They were looking at me like I was walking disaster. I could feel their expectation, their disappointment. I didn't want to face it, so I slipped away like ghosts from the party. Jeffrey felt a pang of sympathy mixed with anguish. You knew I was there, right? Watching you withdraw, and it hurt. I wanted to reach out. I thought it'd be easier to pretend everything was fine. I thought if I just didn't engage, it wouldn't hurt as much. Matt's gaze shifted away, fixating on a moment only he could see. But it did hurt. It hurt like hell. Silence enveloped them again, thick with unspoken truths. Jeffrey could feel it, the way old pains lingered even in this moment of newfound honesty. We're still family, Matt. That's not something we can change. But why didn't we just talk? I would stood by your side. Because I thought I had to shoulder it all alone, he confessed, his voice reduced to a whisper. And all I managed to do was push you away. Matt, you didn't just push me away. You cut me off from everything that mattered, Jeffrey said, frustration edging into his voice. I watched you slip away, and all I could do was wonder if you were moving on without me. It felt like betrayal, and I couldn't figure out how to voice that. Matt winced. That pain, I carried it, too. It ate away at me. I didn't think about how it affected you. It was hard. It still is, Jeffrey admitted, letting out a shaky breath. Every family event since, it felt like a minefield. I held back, afraid that any misstep would unleash something we weren't ready for. They both sat in the soft glow of the cafe lights, poring over the memories that tangled like weeds in their hearts. Outside, streetlights flickered and cars honked, but what mattered was right there in their small enclave, where echoes of the past collided with a chance for something new. I don't want to just sit here and suffer while we talk about the things we never said. We need to find a way to be okay together again, Matt said, steely resolve shining in his eyes. Jeffrey nodded, the warmth of hope flooding back in. Right. But we have to be brave. We'll face uncomfortable truths. We can't run anymore. The weight of those words settled between them. Confidence was a flickering flame, edging to life amid the cooling embers of their hurt. What if we talk to the family? Matt's suggestion caught Jeffrey off guard. Or at least your parents. Maybe we can finally address the elephant in the room. Jeffrey's stomach twisted. The idea terrified him. You mean face them all together? After everything? Yes. If we're serious about moving on, we have to confront the source. It might be painful, but it could also be freeing. He could see the determination in Matt's eyes, a reflection of his own buried desires. It could also blow up in our faces, Jeffrey warned, his voice trembling. Or it could finally heal us, Matt countered firmly. The cafe noise faded around them. For the first time since the conversation began, there was courage sparking in Jeffrey's chest. Then we'll tackle it. Together, he affirmed, feeling the hope rise. As they finished their drinks, the plan shifted from a mere possibility to a commitment. The prospect was daunting, but it felt right. This was their moment. But as they prepared to step into that possibility, a question lingered in Jeffrey's mind: were they truly ready to confront the pain of their past, or would it tear them apart once more? Matt and Jeffrey left the cafe and stepped into the cool evening air. A slight breeze danced around them, swirling the tension lingering between their shoulders. Out here, in the world that bustled and lived on, their private turmoil felt both monumental and insignificant. "I guess we should talk to my parents first, right?" Jeffrey's voice was barely above a whisper. The words hung in the air, a heavy promise made to face the ghosts that had haunted him for too long. Matt nodded, the flicker of determination in his eyes unwavering. "Let's plan for this weekend, then. I can be there. We'll go together." "That's not really a choice," Jeffrey chuckled, though it was laced with nerves. "I'm kind of terrified." Matt shot him a reassuring smile, the kind that made Jeffrey feel like maybe they could handle it after all. "We'll get through it. One step at a time." The conversation shifted to practicalities. They agreed on the time, the day, and even how to approach his parents when the moment came. But as they spoke, unvoiced feelings began to surface, echoes of the past pulling at the corners of their minds. "What about your brother?" Jeffrey asked, his brow furrowing. "He's always been complicated." Matt's smile faltered. "Yeah, complicated is one word for it. I've never really known where we stand." "It might make things tougher or it could help," Jeffrey interrupted, his resolve strengthening. "If he sees us standing together, maybe he'll get it." The silence returned, but it didn't feel heavy this time. It felt like the calm before a storm they were ready to face together. Jeffrey finally took a deep breath. "You think they'll see it the way we want them to?" "I don't know," Matt admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "But we owe it to ourselves to try. To be honest." As they walked side by side under the glow of the streetlights, a sense of purpose filled the gap between them. Things felt different. Each step brought them closer to the moment they'd prepared for, closer to slaying their demons. "Do you think your parents will understand? Will they listen?" The questions bubbled in Jeffrey's mind. "It's tough to say," Matt replied, his voice quieter now. "But I think and hope they'll want to. They've seen the distance, the silence. Maybe they're just waiting for us to speak." Jeffrey thought of the uncertainty that lay ahead. What if instead of understanding, there was more disappointment? What if this only deepened the divide? But he quickly pushed those thoughts aside. "I believe we need to show them. Show them we're still here for each other." They reached Jeffrey's car, and he leaned against it for a moment, feeling the solid weight beneath him. "I guess confronting them feels like raising our flags. Together." "Exactly," Matt replied. "Our flags of truth." With a final nod of agreement, Jeffrey pushed off and unlocked the car. The engine roared to life, but all he felt was the flicker of anticipation and fear. As they drove through the quiet streets, the reality of their plan settled over them like a blanket, both comforting and suffocating. It was a moment charged with potential, yet burdened by the specter of what had once fractured their connection, but with each passing block, Jeffrey couldn't shake the thought of what lay ahead. Would this really be the step toward healing, or would it unravel everything? As he turned a corner, the weight of those questions pushed against his chest, tightening the air around them. In that stillness, Matt spoke softly, "Whatever happens, we're in this together. You know that, right?" "Yeah," Jeffrey breathed, half a smile forming on his lips. Together. But could they really face their family and emerge unscathed? A storm brewed just beyond the horizon, and as they headed toward the inevitable, one last uncertainty lingered in Jeffrey's mind. What would it take to finally break free from the walls they built, or would they just build them higher? As Jeffrey and Matt entered the garage where their family had gathered, an uncomfortable silence settled into the air, thick with anticipation. Each step echoed off the concrete walls, reminding them of the weight they were about to lift or the burdens they might inadvertently add to it. Jeffrey's heart raced as he glanced at his cousin, a silent agreement hanging between them. They had come this far. Their families were already mingling, laughter ringing out, yet it felt surreal and disconnected from the reality they shared. Jeffrey's mother spotted them first, her face lighting up momentarily before the joy faded, replaced with uncertainty. "Jeffrey. Matt. You made it. Yeah, we're here. Jeffrey replied, forcing enthusiasm into his voice. But as he took in the familiar faces, warmth morphed into anxiety. His dad's laugh rang hollow, and his brother lingered in the back, an unsure shadow. Matt met Jeffrey's gaze, his eyes urging courage. "Can we talk?" he asked, and in that moment, silence cloaked the room. "Sure," Jeffrey's mom responded, hesitating as if she sensed the tension. "Let us sit down." They migrated to the living room, the group rearranging itself awkwardly until they formed a loose circle. As they gathered, Jeffrey's palms felt sweaty. This was it. The moment he had both craved and dreaded. The walls of past misunderstandings loomed large, but he took a breath and began, his voice steady despite the tremor inside. "We need to talk about what has happened, about us as a family." His mother's eyebrows knit together, concern etched on her face. "What do you mean?" "About the distance between us," Jeffrey continued, glancing at Matt, who nodded encouragingly. "And, well, the silence. We've all felt it. It's affected us all, hasn't it?" Matt joined in, his voice rising bravely. "It's time we acknowledge the pain and confusion. We're here to reconnect, to heal, if you'll let us." Jeffrey's father shifted uncomfortably but nodded slowly. "We didn't know how to move forward after the accident. We thought we were protecting you too." "Protecting us?" Jeffrey challenged gently. "But all it did was keep us apart. We were suffering in silence. I thought you didn't support me, and Matt thought you blamed him." "Exactly," Matt added, and he could feel the atmosphere crackle with tension. "And we didn't talk about it. We thought distance was easier." The room fell still, the flickering light casting shadows over their faces. Jeffrey's brother crossed his arms, brows furrowed in contemplation. Finally, he spoke, voice low and hesitant. "Maybe we owe it to ourselves to break this cycle. But how do we start?" Slowly, a conversation unfolded, a mixture of emotions cascading through the family like ripples on a pond. They shared stories of hurt, regret, and yearning to reconnect, each revealing pieces of their hearts, slowly weaving a tapestry of understanding. As they spoke, a sense of warmth grew in Jeffrey's chest. After too long, they were no longer strangers separated by pain, but family rediscovering their bonds through honest truth. There were tears, some healed wounds, others still raw, but with every shared word, they were cutting the binding ties of misunderstanding. "Can we try to do better?" Jeffrey asked, glancing around the circle, feeling the unspoken promise linger in the air. "Together?" His mother reached for Matt's hand, tears glimmering in her eyes. "I want that. We've been lost, and it's time we found our way back." Warmth flooded Jeffrey as he squeezed his cousin's shoulder, feeling the weight of years drift away. The storm of emotions began to settle, replaced by a blanket of hope that wrapped around them all. They took their time, openly sharing, allowing healing to unfold through laughter and tears. As the gathering began to wind down, the heaviness from earlier felt lifted. They entered a new chapter of understanding, not without challenges, but now faced with unity. In the weeks that followed, the family took steps, small yet significant, toward fostering stronger connections. They couldn't fix everything overnight, but they were determined to try. Gathering more often, listening to one another, seeking to understand, allowing laughter to break through the silence that had stretched on for too long. And as for Jeffrey and Matt, they found strength in their shared journey, moving forward hand in hand as cousins, brothers, each ready to face whatever life threw at them. The past still echoed softly in the background, but it no longer held them captive. They were weaving together the strands of a new narrative, one where hope triumphed over isolation. As Jeffrey stood by the window one morning, watching the sunrise, he felt an unmistakable surge of peace. The horizon stretched ahead of him, full of possibilities. Together, he whispered to himself, a reminder of where they had come from and where they were going, a journey back to family that would only grow brighter, one step at a time. Now, this is your moment. If you've enjoyed this amazing transformation, you need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to show your support, this truly makes a difference. And don't wait not even one more second, comment your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans understand the power of connection. Let us keep spreading this love.